So people have been asking me to do a new, more updated video on Kurtzpel for a while now. Honestly, I had no idea why this was. I figured, you know what, it's probably gonna be something really big, but I did not think it was this big until I actually went through and I read through a list of all the changes that were made to the game. And trust me, after reading through all the changes made, I can see why the average concurrent player number for the game is at approximately 1,000 on Steam. So let me start this off by stating that I played Kurtzpel when it first launched. Mrs. Stix and I both played for the first few days, but we kind of burned out pretty quickly as there just was not that much to do. However, we figured with time there would be like new karmas added, new instances to do, new story to play through, you know, what is generally perceived as content in a video game. I would come back occasionally whenever new features would be announced to try them out, but afterwards I would kind of be left with the same sense of boredom, I guess, as I felt after the first few days of playing. But I mean, like, don't get me wrong, that isn't because Kurtzpel itself is a bad game. It's more just that there wasn't really a lot of content to really like consume and a lot of things to do, especially once you complete them through once. And that is if you're not interested at all in PvP, or at least you weren't interested in PvP when we initially played it. Now, in the past, there were cutscenes, there was story, there was lore behind characters, karmas, and the world itself. However, if what I've learned is to be believed, there is not actually any of that left anymore. Animated cutscenes were removed from the game, including the story and the lore behind pretty much the entirety of the game. This essentially leaves new players without the ability to experience what was at one point an integral part of explaining the world that we inhabit. The game has also become much more pay to win than ever before, but this is a Kog Games game after all, and that is essentially a given at this point in time. Anyone that suspected that it was not going to be pay to win, at least, you know, at some point down the line, has clearly never played a Kog game before. Gearing yourself now is an incredibly arduous grind, having players spend a cumulative total of hundreds of hours if you want to equip yourself with a solid set of gear. This makes it increasingly difficult for players, new players in specific, when the game is so heavily focused around PvP, which, now that I'm talking about it, forces players to play 3v3 and 5v5 PvP modes respectively, which I know a lot of players really dislike. And don't get me started on the cash shop and how incredibly overpriced everything is. There is just so much wrong with Kurtzpel right now, and it is evident that Kog Games have absolutely no idea what they're doing with the game. And with all of the recent negative reviews left on Steam, like, you know, clearly the player base is upset, but Kog just don't really seem to care enough to fix any of the issues. They're removing everything they can and gating everything else behind paywalls to make certain that they can make as large a profit as they possibly can off of the player base before they catch on and come to the realization that the game really is just a money sink and they don't care about it. Like, I have never been a fan of Kog Games. I have enjoyed some of their games in the past, like Sword, and yeah, even Kurtzpel when it first launched, but I have never been a fan of how Kog go about handling their games. But then at the same time, I know that they are a company, and in the grand scheme of things, their goal is to ultimately make money. I'm not criticizing them for wanting to make a profit off of their game, but there are definitely other ways of going about it. Kurtzpel was a very, very fun game when it launched. It had really amazing combat. I enjoyed spending hours in both PvP and PvE, and creating and customizing your character provided almost endless amounts of entertainment. I don't really see much of a future for the game though anymore. I know Kog released a new karma recently, and it was, I guess it was really, really underwhelming, not just for me, because I had the opportunity to play it, but also for the majority of the player base that also went ahead and got to actively play as it. A lot of people were concerned it used recycled animations and was more or less a last second addition to the game. And honestly, that's because at this point, all Kurtzpel is a money-making machine. This will likely continue to be the case until a large enough group of people leave, which would result in Kog ultimately having to shut the game down. Now, in the meantime, we have plenty of other great looking anime games and great looking anime MMOs to look forward to. Blue Protocol's closed beta will be rolling out next month. Genshin Impact just announced their new closed beta. Phantasy Star Online 2 just rolled out on an Xbox and will be hitting PC soon, and Grand Saga will have a beta test later this year. So while Kurtzpel slowly continues to decline, know that there are still some fantastic alternatives. Granted, none provide the same PvP features that Kurtzpel does, but you can always satiate alleviate those needs in Kurtzpel itself until it's no longer around. But hey, that's just my opinion, my impressions of Kurtzpel in its current form. What do you guys think though? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it.